Hi, and welcome to channel 27,963. Today, we're going to be focusing on something known as Civic Mirror, brought to us by Miss Shackett, our Block 2 teacher. Civic Mirror is a simulation nation, from which we learned 3 key points. 1. Things can't always be distributed fairly. 2. We learned how the government works in action. And 3. How important it is for citizens to be involved in the government and their community around them. Right now, I'm going to be focusing on the first point, how things can't always be distributed fairly. A few examples of this is how Shafali's family got a homeless death, how Lauren was not given the food she was promised in the first year and the second year of Civic Mirror, and how many Civic Mirror citizens were not given health and education due to lack thereof. Through this first point, we learned that people with money and connections are the ones who are usually able to get the things they want and need, such as residency and food. But though these things might not be necessarily fair, they are part of our everyday lives and we just have to learn to deal with them. And now, to my correspondent in the field, Chloe, to talk about the next point.
Thanks, Janelle. Hello, friends. The second thing we learned is how our government works in action. We learned this through seeing how the House of Representatives, Senate, and President all work together to make laws and bills that affect us each and every day in our nation. We also learned how bills get revised and edited. We saw how both parties argue both points and how it can make the legislative process lengthy and uneventful at some points, as in our first and second years of Civic Mirror.
And now we'll focus on the third point, which is how absolutely important it is for citizens to be educated about their government.
This is important because without this education, we might vote people into government that shouldn't be there or who will lead us into the wrong paths.
We learned about this with our president, Brian. He started out really helpful and nice in the first 2 years and looked like he really wanted to help the community. But as we found out when the game ends, is he had bad intentions instead. He really wanted to pass a bill that would take over the whole entire community. If we hadn't been educated about our government, who knows what could have happened.
We would have passed the bill and would have made Brian this terrible dictator-type role model. Tune in for a special segment of interviews
with me. Ow! And now we're back with a special guest to tell us about his experiences with Civic Mirror. Alright, guest. Tell us, after your experiences in Civic Mirror, what are you and your society really like?
I learned that deep down, we really just want to create a better life to help ourselves and our country be greater as a whole, dog.
So, guest, what are your strengths and weaknesses, and your country's strengths and weaknesses, and what could you do to improve yourself and your society?
I learned that some of my and our strengths involve that we are able to communicate our problems and our opinions well. We have a good democratic system. People's opinions were voiced. The society was mostly, for the most part, kept alive, and the people were within it. And some of the weaknesses involve too much arguing about the same subject for too much amount of time. The president really didn't go through the requested trades with a fine-tooth comb. He just kind of accepted any ones he wanted to, which led to problems later on, as we saw with Lauren and Adam. And the price ceilings were placed awkwardly, as in there were some on education when that's not even a necessity.
Great answer. Really, really in-depth. Okay, last question we have time for. What did you, guest, really learn to understand about law, government, and or society?
In my Civic Mirror experience, I learned how the branches coexist and how checks and balances work. I learned how important it is to choose a good leader, and how important it is to be involved, and how beneficial that involvement can be. I learned that voicing your opinion is very important, especially in your nation, and I also learned that the bill process is a very hard and difficult one, but can be very good in the end.
And for those of you that didn't know, that was Justin Bieber! Alright, time to get serious. Civic Mirror taught us so much stuff, such as how the government and citizens really do interact.
It teaches us how the 3 branches interact to make a better nation.
It taught us that you have to keep a really close eye on all your business exchanges and to make sure you have a well-written contract.
It also showed us how trials really go down in real life.
And we just wanted to say thanks, Miss Shackett.
This was a really great experience, and we'll take its lessons with us.